Hi everyone. One of the most well-known categories of the many categories of saints in the Orthodox Church is that of the holy unmercenary physicians. Perhaps the most famous one is Saint Pantaleon, but we can go even further back than him to the one who is perhaps the prototype of all the unmercenaries, the holy apostle and unmercenary physician, Luke the Evangelist. But there were even more at this time. Two of them, commemorated on October 11th, happened to be sisters. And they were relatives of the holy apostle Paul, and they also were from Tarsus in Cilicia. Now their names were Zenais and Philonilla. These two sisters, from very early on, had a great intellectual acumen and became interested in the medical sciences as they were known back then. And so they studied hard, especially Zenais, and was ultimately able to become a physician and healer. And not long after, her sister, Philonilla, also joined her. The two set up shop, if you will, in Tarsus initially, but then moved on to the city of Demetriada, which was also in Cilicia. Now, once they left Tarsus, and they sold all of their goods and all of their practice, and they did this because they had become increasingly aware of the spiritual nature of life and the fact of their great need to follow our Lord Jesus Christ in the footsteps of their beloved relative. When they left and went to Demetriada, they didn't seek out someplace in the city, some nice area where they could practice their art of medicine, but they went instead to a cave. And the cave was a place where not only could they see patients, but they could also spend an increasing amount of time in prayer and vigil and fasting, which they realized was so important to the spiritual life. Many people began to hear of them and would flock to this cave. And both of these beloved sisters would treat these patients as best they could. And even people with very serious and grave illnesses came to them and were cured. And those who could not be cured by medical means, well, Zenais and Philonilla would invoke the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, the great physician, so that he would come and cure what they could not do. This went on for quite a long while, and there are many people that came to them in order to be healed. But the two sisters realized that the spiritual life was ultimately the most important. And so, besides treating these patients, they would also afterwards preach on the salvific activities of our Lord Jesus Christ on earth, and the fact that there was no other name under heaven by which anyone could be saved. And in that way, they, as the Synaxarion so beautifully puts it, they anointed spiritual wounds with the oil of love. Many years went by and their activities continued. And so on one hand, they were emulating the beloved Saint Luke in his unmercenary activities in terms of healing people and charging them absolutely nothing. And also their beloved Saint Paul in his own apostolic endeavors and journeys and missionary activities. They did the same, borrowing from both of these worlds. Countless numbers of people came to them and were cured. And as time went on, they became greatly respected and beloved in the community, but alas, it was not to be. For even during this first century of Christianity, when paganism was rampant along with polytheism, a number of people came one night to the cave when they were sleeping, and they came upon both of these sisters with the intent of killing them. Zenais saw them and said to them, "After all of these years that we have been here to help you and assist you in the many maladies and plights that you find yourselves in, is this how you're going to treat us now?" And she said, "Dear Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Whereupon this small crowd set upon them and sent both of these sisters to martyrdom. However, because of their great love for the Lord and their great emphasis on healing people simply out of love for Christ, now they too are without pain and without suffering and intercede for all of us.